Okay, here we have a title angle on the carb, and what I want to show you is that on the underside here there is a little tiny rubber, you can see here, and this can get worn over time, and that means you then don't get a proper seal on your carb onto your motor, and that can cause you to have problems with running lean on the engine because you're getting too much air mixture into the carb because this isn't sealing properly. Also on the front of here you can see the denotation for the carburetor, which is a 40L. Okay, so that's the initial carburetor off. The next thing we're going to do is take the needles, the high end of the mid-range needle out of the carb. Now what you want to do if you're doing some maintenance on your engine is, before you take each needle out, wind it in first to find out how many turns out you're running on that needle, and just make a note of it so that when you replace them you can put the needles back to where they were. Also, when you wind the needles in, be careful that you don't wind them in really fast and sort of really ram them home, because you could damage the needle. So you just want to wind it in gently until it hits the stopping point, and then don't put any pressure on it, just unwind it then and take it out and make a note of how many turns in you were. So we'll take the high end needle out and basically just turn it anti-clockwise, like so, and then eventually it will go smooth, and there we go, there's the needle. And if I just bring this into shot here, you can see that there are two little O-rings on the needle, and these can wear with time, and you don't want the seal on the needle being broken, because you'll get air in there, which you don't really want. So again, this is another maintenance item. So put that to one side, and also make sure you don't get your needles muddled up, because typically on a carb like this you find that the taper on the needles is different on the mid-range versus the high-end needle, so you want to make sure that you put them back in the right place. Okay, and we now work on the mid-range needle, and again exactly the same process. We just wind that out, and then it will go smooth, and just keep winding until it goes like that. There we go, and then that's our mid-range needle. And what you can see on the mid-range needle, if I compare these side by side, and this may not come out well on the video, but you can see that the high-end needle has a much finer taper on it, and the mid-range needle has a much thicker taper on it. And that's the way to tell the difference between them. And also the high-end needle has this double O-ring on it, and the mid-range just has a single O-ring. Okay, so that's the two needles out, and we can now move on and start taking apart the rest of the carburetor. So next thing we can do is we can slide off these parts here, but there's actually no need to do that unless you've damaged these. And basically these are just like a spring clip arrangement, so they just spring on there, so you just prise that apart gently and slide it off, and that will come off of that barrel. But I'm actually not going to take these off because there's no need to, and these are only held on by that spring clip, so there's no need to remove them.